In its 1998 report, the Air Force cited a number of top-secret government projects as possible explanations for UFO sightings at Roswell, hoping to close the book on the case.
The Air Force report, Roswell case closed, is probably a premature use of that term. It certainly doesn't close the case on all of the UFO sightings. And as we found out in doing our own stories, there were many projects that were involved with the UFO phenomenon that the story doesn't even vaguely address.
Among these files and other recently declassified materials, our experts have found extensive evidence of other top-secret government projects. These projects may help explain some of the strange stories told by eyewitnesses to UFO crash landings. A case in point, in its 1998 report, the Air Force makes only one brief mention of space biology experiments associated with the testing of high-altitude balloons. But a thorough examination of the government's files reveals that experiments with live animals were an integral part of many flight test programs.
These experiments on space biology began with animals. Mice, monkeys, other creatures were jettisoned up into the sky.
These experiments were documented by films that show the effects on animal subjects, effects of cosmic radiation, changes in gravity forces, and the unthinkable trauma caused by a high-speed return to Earth.
This was very risky business because what goes up must come down. Many of these animals met their deaths in the desert as a result of their participation in these experiments.
Details of the space biology program raise new questions. Could the alien survivors spotted by eyewitnesses actually have been primates used in space biology experiments?
Just imagine being a civilian traveling through the desert and coming upon a crashed ship of some kind with dead animals inside it, or monkeys in spacesuits. What would you think?
Aerospace historian Jim Wilson has found evidence of several other top-secret projects also never revealed in the Air Force reports. These include a covert project in which the Air Force designed a 40-foot flying saucer, a craft with the potential to rain nuclear destruction on the Soviet Union. Manned by a crew of 4 and nuclear-powered, the lenticular re-entry vehicle was designed to be carried aloft via rocket and maintain an orbit 300 miles above the Earth's surface.
We believe that a large number of the UFO sightings that happened in the 50s and through the 60s may have been involved with this type of technology. And this type of technology may also, for example, explain those cases where people show up with radiation burns after seeing unusual things in the sky.
Jim Wilson and other prominent members of the scientific community now believe that projects like Project Mogul, Operation High Dive, Project Excelsior, and the lenticular re-entry vehicle are just the tip of the iceberg. They predict the government still has much more to reveal about other top-secret projects carried out in the skies above the New Mexico desert beginning in the 1940s. So while the government may still be involved in a cover-up, it's a cover-up that has nothing to do with aliens and much to do with military secrecy. Despite the continuing controversy about the government's role in the Roswell case, more and more experts do agree on one thing: that the evidence to prove an alien presence at Roswell probably does not exist.
If a saucer had crashed at Roswell, you would have seen evidence in national security policy of an effort to do something about it. You would have seen the development of countermeasures, you would have seen the development of detection devices, and there would have been a whole focus on the problem of the possibility of alien invasion from another planet. Didn't see it. You saw all kinds of reactions in terms of billions of dollars and all sorts of people to earthly threats, and not a thing to do with anything possibly from another planet.
After years of research, 2 massive government reports, and the testimony of hundreds of witnesses, all documented in these 11 boxes, there is still no tangible evidence of an alien crash landing at Roswell. But that lack of concrete evidence may never convince the UFO true believers.
The fundamental problem that the government has always had with the Roswell incident is that it has to prove a negative. It has to prove it doesn't have a flying saucer. And how do you prove you don't have something? You cannot disprove something, particularly when belief in the existence of the Roswell crash is so attractive.
Hundreds of thousands of people visit Roswell each year. Glenn Dennis and Walter Haught, 2 of the principals in the Roswell story, are now co-owners of the UFO International Research Center, one of the town's biggest tourist attractions. And Roswell itself has been transformed by public interest in UFOs. What was once a sleepy farming community is now a thriving city of 50,000.
Roswell is like a circus. If you go to the circus or if you go to a sideshow, it's fun. But if you believe it, then you've made a big mistake. So it's kind of like wink, wink, this is fun. Wouldn't it be great if it was real? But unfortunately, there are a lot of people who are saying not wink, wink, but they're saying this is real, and we really did have alien beings from another planet crash here back in 1947.
Regardless of what experts and investigators now say about Roswell, more than 50 years after Mac Brazel found that pile of debris in the desert, public interest in the case continues to grow.
I can't imagine that Roswell will be a case closed for the UFO community. Not after this Air Force report, not after any government report.
More than 50 years after the first sightings, 1/4 of all inquiries received by the Air Force Public Information Office still relate to what happened in the desert skies.
It's a dream come true to discover the answer to the ultimate question, are we alone? And are we the only intelligent being in all this vast universe?
If aliens have crashed at Roswell, it is one of the most important events in human history. Suddenly, we know we're not alone in the universe.
Roswell is a case that will never die, I think. I think that it is, the mythology of Roswell, the legend of Roswell has taken on a life of its own, and it's bigger and stronger than the reality.
It started with a big bang. It could end with a bigger one.
I don't want to be around for that day. I'm worried about the next asteroid.
The world's top scientists present the greatest inevitable threats to humanity.
These are the things that can render us extinct.
How do we face the last days on Earth? Tonight at 8 on the History Channel.